Hi students, in this session we are going to discuss about our second units, laser and fiber optics. First of all, we have to know what is lasers and what is the mechanism behind it. Okay, see, lasers. I think do you all know about laser abbreviation, that is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Okay, and laser, see, it is a monochromatic source having high intensity. These are the main topics which we are going to study in this lasers. Okay, so introduction about lasers, characteristics of laser, spontaneous emission of radiation, stimulated emission of radiation, Einstein coefficients, population inversion, pumping mechanisms, helium ion laser, Nd:YAG laser, and finally the applications of laser. Okay, let us see laser. What is laser stands for? So laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Characteristics of laser. Laser, when compared to ordinary light, has some outstanding characteristics. So nowadays, for the major, we are using the lasers for the information transformation technology through the optical fibers. So these laser, this laser plays a major role in our daily life. So laser, when compared to ordinary light, has some outstanding characteristics. Let us see what are those. So number one is directionality. So during the propagation of a laser beam, its angular speed is very less, that means spreading of light, and the beam occupies the less area. Hence, it travels long distances, that means along only a particular direction through longer distances. See how the laser light will propagate. Okay, and next, monochromaticity. So the property of exhibiting single wavelength is called monochromaticity, means existing single wavelength. That means in our nature there is a standard wavelength for each color in our existence. So laser also, it has a monochromaticity. A laser beam will have single wavelength and it is monochromatic. Example, ruby laser having the wavelength of 6943 angstrom units. And next is semiconductor laser, 8000 angstrom units. Okay, and next, brightness. So due to this, its directionality, the intensity of laser beam is very low. Hence, its brightness is high. So intensity high ga unte as well as brightness is also high. Hence, laser is used for welding and cutting purposes. This is one of the applications of laser. And next, coherence. We already know about coherence. So let us just recall that how the ordinary light is non-coherent and the laser light is coherent. Why? What is coherence? When two or more waves have same frequency and have same phase or zero phase difference, then those waves are called coherent waves. Okay, and in a laser beam, all the laser waves exactly have same phase and laser is highly coherent. It means coherence. What is the condition for coherence? When two or more waves having the same frequency and the same phase or zero phase difference. So those are said to be a coherent waves. And it's in a laser beam, all the laser waves exactly have same phase. Hence, that is a coherent source. See, what is the difference between the ordinary light and a laser light? Ordinary light and laser beams. In ordinary light, the angular spread is more, and laser beams it is less. So, in ordinary light, they are not directional. It is a, in case of laser, it is highly directional, and ordinary light is less intense, and laser beam is a highly intense. And ordinary light is not a coherent beam, and it is not in phase. So laser beam is a coherent beam and is in phase, and the radiations in ordinary light is polychromatic and the radiations in laser beam is monochromatic. Example for ordinary light is sunlight, mercury vapor lamp, like that. And laser beams, this is an example for helium neon laser, CO2 laser. Okay, simply this is the differences between ordinary light and laser light. See, laser light differs from ordinary light. How it will work? Laser light is a monochromatic, directional, coherent, and ordinary light it is a polychromatic. It's not in a directional and not in coherence. Next, what is Einstein's quantum theory of radiation? Let us see. In 1916, according to Einstein, the interaction of radiation with matter could be explained in terms of three basic processes. What are those? Induced absorption, spontaneous emission, stimulated emission. See, let us see what is absorption. The process of exciting the atoms to higher energy level by absorbing the stimulating incident photon is known as stimulated absorption of radiation. See, there is a two energy levels. There is a lower energy state and higher energy state. How the atom will go from a lower energy state to higher energy state? It's a photon. During absorption state, how it will be? Electron absorbing photon energy, and after absorption, whenever it gains some energy from photon, it will go to the higher energy state. So electron jump to excited state after absorbing the photon energy. So simply this is the difference between during absorption and after absorption, how the light will be. So absorption of radiation or light. And next, see, spontaneous emission. It is a process in which there is an emission of photon whenever an atom transmits from a higher energy state to a lower energy state without the aid of any external agency. That means the emission is spontaneous. We are not using any external force, we are not giving any external energy. So for this process to take place, the atom has to be in the excited state. Atom has to be in the excited state. Whenever the spontaneous emission will occur, whenever the atom is in a higher energy state, that means excited state, then only the spontaneous emission concept exists. So for this, an atom has to be in the excited state already, since the higher energy level is an unstable one. The excited atom in the higher energy level E2 spontaneously returns to the lower energy level E1 with the emission of photon energy h nu, that is equal to E2 minus E1. So whenever the atom is coming from higher energy state to lower energy state, that means excited state to ground state, it emits a photon. It comes to the ground state by emitting a photon of energy h nu. Okay, C, spontaneous emission. Okay. For the absorption, it gains the photon energy and go to the excited state, and for the spontaneous emission, it releases a photon whenever it coming from excited state to lower energy state. So before photon emission during transition. See, so whenever the electron is in excited state, and excited state electron releasing photon during transition, that's a higher to lower energy state. Okay. And next, stimulated emission. So it is also emission. It is also a process in which there is an emission of photon whenever an atom transits from a higher energy level to a lower energy level under the influence of a external agency, that is an inducing photon. That means for this we are inserting, that means we are giving the energy for this stimulated emission. For this process also the atom should be already in the excited state. Let a photon having an energy h nu e2 minus e1 interact with an atom in the excited state. Under such interaction, the incident photon stimulate the excited atom in the level E2 to transit to the lower energy level E1, resulting in the emission of a photon of energy h nu equals to E2 minus E1. In the spontaneous emission, what will happen? The atom which the it going from excited state to an ground state, it emits a photon of energy h nu whenever it comes to its ground state after its lifetime. But here in stimulated emission, we are forcibly, by applying external force, we are moving that atom from excited state to lower energy state. So the resulting in the emission of photon of energy is also h nu here. So see, stimulated emission. So it is also coming from higher energy state to lower energy state. So excited state electron absorbing photon energy. Photon energy. Higher energy state. How? The excited electron releasing two photons during the transition higher to lower energy state. Because the spontaneous is stimulated. That means we are applying external energy. So here we are getting two photons of energy h nu. See what will happen. Absorption. What is the you just observe the difference between the absorption, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. Okay. So let us see what are the differences between spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. So in case of spontaneous emission of a photon by an atom without any external force is called spontaneous emission. The emission of two photons by an atom when it is present at excited state due to action of external force is called stimulated emission. And next, light emitted through this process is incoherent. Through spontaneous process we are getting a light with incoherence. So the light emitted through stimulated emission is coherent, and the net intensity proportional to the number of radiating atoms in the spontaneous emission, and the net intensity of light is proportional to the square of number of atoms of radiating light in stimulated emission. And light resulting through spontaneous emission is non-monochromatic. That means it's not monochromatic. The light resulting through stimulated emission is monochromatic. That's a chromatic. Means the photons both we are getting in stimulated emission both are in the same direction. And spontaneous emission, the light we are getting that is in spontaneous emission, that is less directionality, and through the stimulated emission we are getting high directionality light. And the light from sodium lamp or mercury lamp is an example for spontaneous emission, and stimulated emission, the light from a laser source. And see, the main concept behind all this is known as a population inversion. So let us see what is the population inversion. So population inversion is a state of achieving more number of atoms in the excited state compared to the ground state. So it is a state achieving more number of atoms in the excited state compared to the ground state. That means N2 is greater than N1. If the condition is satisfied, then there is more chance for stimulated emission to take place. So if this condition satisfies, so then there is a chance for the stimulated emission. So population inversion is an essential condition for producing leisure. It's a essential condition for to getting a leisure life. So population inversion can be achieved by a process called pumping. So how the population inversion can be achieved means by means of a pumping mechanism. So normal population and inverted population. Population means the number of atoms grouping at the state, whether it is a ground state or excited state. But the condition is the more number of atoms have to be present in the excited state. Okay, let us see what is a metastable state. From the starting of this chapter, we are discussing about ground state and excited state only. Now, what is the concept of metastable state? Let us see. The higher state must be a metastable state. So, a state in which the electrons remains longer than usual, so that the transition to the lower state occurs by stimulated emission rather than spontaneously. You have to understand that because metastable state is a higher energy state where the electrons will stay for a longer time. Okay, and excitation mechanisms, it's a pumping mechanisms. So we are discussing about pumping. So there are so many pumping mechanisms like optical pumping, electric discharge, or direct electron excitation, and inelastic atom or atom collisions, chemical reactions, direct conversions, all these. Okay. And next, optical pumping. Let us see what is a optical pumping. In a optical pumping, an external light source is used to supply luminous energy to produce population inversion. So in this case, we are using a external light source to supply luminous energy to produce population. For the condition of population inversion, we are doing this. So this method of excitation is used in solid state lasers. Okay, we are having many number of lasers: solid state, liquid, gas. So this is a solid state examples excitation method. An example is a xenon flash tube. Okay, see how the pumping will occur. And next, electric discharge or direct electron excitation. So in this method, electrons directly excite the active atoms to achieve higher population inversion, higher energy levels compared to lower energy levels. That means the method is used, excitation is used in a gaseous state lasers. See here what is happening, how the transition will happening. Electrons directly excite the active atoms to achieve higher population inversion. Okay. And next, inelastic atom or atom collisions. So we are considering two atoms here. Let us see what is happening. In this method, electric discharge is employed to cause collision and excitation of atoms. Electric discharge, that means we are applying electric field. A combination of two gases are used, say A and B. Okay, and initially due to electric discharge, A gets with excited to A star. That's a metastable state. That's a higher energy state due to collisions of electron. Okay. And next, the excited A star atoms now collide with the B atoms so that the latter atoms get excited to higher energy state B. So A will excited and go to the state of excited state A star, and B also in the same, and they are getting a collision between A star and B star. So this method is used in helium and neon laser. That means there is a mixture of two gases, how the electron transitions, how the population inversion will be. And next, chemical reaction. In this method, the molecules undergo chemical changes in which one of the products of the reaction excites a molecule or atom under appropriate condition and population inversion is achieved. How? The molecules Here we are using undergo chemical changes in which one of the products of the reaction excites a molecule. Okay, mixture of gases we are taking, mixture of atoms. So one of those, the products of reaction excites a molecule or atom under appropriate conditions and population inversion is achieved. Okay, here we are using two mixture of atoms. So in hydrogen fluoride chemical leisure, hydrogen fluoride molecules are excited to higher energy state with the help of heat energy released due to chemical reaction. So due to chemical reaction, the heat is produced. By using that heat energy, those atoms are excited. And next, let us see what is the main points of a laser. Any laser system consists of three important components, that is they are pumping mechanism or source of energy or active medium and optical cavity or resonator. See, in the above we are using a source of energy, and there is an active medium having two ends. One end has a fully reflected mirror and the other end has a partially reflected mirror, and the optical resonator or cavity. So all the pumping mechanisms have an examples for the solid state laser, gas laser, liquid laser, dye laser and semiconductor laser. So these are all the kinds of lasers. Okay.